People think the hardest part of getting old is living alone. It is not. At least it was not for me. I am 91 years old, and I have lived alone in this house for 6 years. I have eaten supper by myself. I have woken up to rooms so quiet I could hear the refrigerator hum from the kitchen. I have sat through storms with no one beside me and no voice in the hallway calling my name. Yes, I have been afraid. I will not pretend otherwise. But the thing that frightened me most was not dying alone. It was being taken somewhere safe before I was ready. That is a different fear. Because people talk about nursing homes as if they are the only answer once an old person starts moving slower. They say it gently. They say it with love. They say, "You will be safer there." And maybe they are right sometimes. But before you pack your clothes into 2 suitcases, before you give up your kitchen, your porch, your late dinners, your own way of moving through a day, I want you to hear what happened to me. My son thought I needed help. He was not wrong. But the help we found nearly made me disappear. And the thing that saved me was not a facility, not a schedule, and not someone paid to watch over me. It began with a neighbor, a torn grocery bag, and one small question. Can I hold something? But before I tell you about that neighbor, you need to know what kind of woman I was before everyone decided I needed saving. My name is Cecelia Morrow. I am 91 years old. I have been a daughter, a wife, a mother, a grandmother, a widow, and for the last 6 years, a woman living alone in a house that is too large for one body and too full of memory for anyone else to understand. My husband Thomas died in the back bedroom on a cold morning in March. After the funeral, people started looking at my house differently. Before it was my home, after it became a concern. The stairs were too steep, the rugs were too loose, the yard was too much, the nights were too quiet. Everyone seemed to notice danger in places where I still saw ordinary life. And I understood some of it. I am not foolish. I know I am slower now. I know my hands shake when I pour tea. I know I sometimes stand in a room and forget why I came in. But I also still cooked my own breakfast. I paid my bills. I folded my laundry. I walked to the mailbox every morning, slowly, but I walked. I was not helpless. I was old. And those are not the same thing. The first person to say it out loud was my son Robert. He called me one Tuesday in November and said, "Mom, Helen, and I think we need to come over and talk." Now, when your grown son says he and his wife need to talk, you already know the conversation has started without you. They came that Saturday afternoon. Robert sat at my kitchen table with his coat still on, rubbing his hands together like a boy who had broken a window and did not know how to confess it. Helen was kinder about it. She touched my shoulder, asked about my tea, and looked around the kitchen as if she were trying not to see the chipped cabinets or the stack of mail by the bread box. Then Robert said, "Mom, we've been looking at some options." Options. I have learned to be careful with that word. Sometimes options mean freedom. Sometimes they mean someone has already made a decision and wants you to feel included before you agree to it. Robert had 3. I could come live with him and Helen for a while, or they could hire someone to come help me during the week, or we could look at a few places, he said, nice places, communities, somewhere I would be safe, Somewhere there would be people around. He said it gently. That made it harder. I looked at my son's face and saw fear there. Not impatience, not cruelty, fear. And you cannot be angry at fear the same way you can be angry at disrespect. So I nodded. I said, "All right, Robert, let's try one thing at a time." But inside, something in me had gone very quiet. The first thing we tried was Robert's house. He called it staying for a while, which sounded better than moving in and less final than giving up. So I packed a small suitcase, 2 cardigans, my good slippers, and the hairbrush I have used since before Robert had gray in his own hair. His house was warm, I will give him that. There were school papers on the kitchen counter, shoes by the door, laundry humming somewhere, and little Caleb, my great-grandson, who climbed into my lap the second evening as if I had been placed there for that exact purpose. For a moment I thought maybe this would work. Then the days started showing me the truth. Dinner was at 6. I have never liked dinner at 6. Thomas and I ate late for most of our marriage, usually with the news murmuring in the background and him pretending he was not going back for more bread. But at Robert and Helen's house, dinner was at 6 because that was when the household worked. So I ate at 6. I woke at 5, the way I always do, and lay still in the guest room because I did not want the floorboards to complain under my feet. I waited for someone else to start the house before I let myself be alive in it. Nobody was unkind. That was the worst part. They gave me the soft towels. Helen checked if I was warm enough. Robert carried my suitcase upstairs without being asked. Caleb brought me crayons and asked me to draw birds with him. But kindness can still make you feel like a guest. One morning I heard Helen in the hallway. Only a few words came through the wall. Something about the bathroom, something about the morning rush. Then Robert said my name very softly. I stood in the guest room doorway with my hand on the frame and understood it all at once. I had not become family in that house. I had become something everyone had to work around. The next thing we tried was a caregiver. Robert found her through an agency. Her name was Nora, and she arrived on a Monday morning wearing clean white sneakers and carrying a bag with a blood pressure cuff, a notebook, and the sort of confidence people have when they have done the same difficult thing for many years. She was not cruel. I want to say that plainly. Nora was efficient. She was careful. She knew how to speak to old people, though I did not always like the way she did it. She called me Mrs. Morrow, not Cecelia, not Mom, not Grandma, not Cece, the name my grandchildren used when they were small and could not manage the rest of it. Mrs. Morrow, that was my mother-in-law's name, and she had been dead long enough that I did not enjoy hearing it in my kitchen. Nora cleaned the counters. She moved the cans in the pantry. She made me lunch with no salt and very little joy. She folded my towels in a way that made them look like hotel towels, which is a fine thing in a hotel and a strange thing in the house where you raise 3 children. By Wednesday, I could not find the good knife. By Thursday, I could not find the tea. By Friday, I stopped reaching for things without thinking, because nothing was where my hands expected it to be. And that may sound small to you, but when you are old, small things are not small. Your kitchen is memory. Your hallway is memory. The chair you sit in, the cup you use, the drawer that sticks unless you lift it just so, Those things tell you that you are still in your own life. Nora helped me. She truly did. But every afternoon when she left, I stood in the quiet kitchen and felt as if someone had been taking care of me by removing little pieces of me from the room. After 3 months, I told Robert we had to stop the agency. It was too expensive, and I could hear the worry in his voice every time the bill came. He said he and Helen could help. I knew he meant it. But I had spent my whole life trying not to become a weight my children had to carry. So one evening, after Nora had gone and the kitchen was finally quiet again, I called Robert and said, "This is not working." He was silent for a moment. Then he said, "Mom, will you at least look at one place?" One place. That was how they get you to agree to things when you are old. Not decide, just look. So I went. The building was bright. I will be fair about that. There were flowers near the entrance, soft chairs in the lobby, and a woman at the front desk who smiled at me as if smiling were part of her uniform. She called me sweetheart before she knew my name. I did not like that, but I smiled back. They showed me a room with a window facing a courtyard. There was a bathroom with silver handrails, a small closet, a bed, and a board on the wall where someone had written the date. Then I saw the calendar. 9:30 chair exercise, 11 o'clock sing-along, 1:30 puzzle group, 3 o'clock movie hour, 4:30 community tea. I stood there reading it, and all I could think was, I have been deciding what to do at 3 o'clock in the afternoon since before that young woman's grandmother was born. The place was not cruel. That was not the problem. I could see people there who were cared for well. I could see clean floors, patient staff, warm meals, and soft voices. I just could not see myself there yet. On the ride home, Robert said, "What did you think?" I looked out the window and watched the bare trees pass by. Then I said, "Not yet." And for the first time, I heard my own voice sound like a door staying closed. So there I was. No Robert's house, no agency, no community with a 3 o'clock movie. Just me, my quiet house, and a problem nobody had solved. What happened next was not wise or planned. I did not sit down with a notebook and create a new life. I was tired, a little angry, and lonelier than I wanted to admit. One afternoon, I went outside to get the mail. The house next door had been empty for nearly 2 years, but that week a young woman had moved in. I had seen boxes, a stroller, a little girl with a yellow backpack, but I had not properly met them. That afternoon she was standing near the curb with a grocery bag, tearing in one hand, Ben pulling at her sleeve, and Lily trying to keep a yellow backpack from sliding off her shoulder. She looked at me and tried to smile. I knew that look. It was the look of someone with too many things to carry and no one close enough to ask. So I said the only thing I could think to say. "Can I hold something?" She handed me the groceries so quickly I nearly laughed. Her name was Rachel. The little boy was Ben. Her daughter Lily was 7 and very serious about spelling words. Rachel had moved there after a divorce, looking for a new start that had turned out to be harder than she expected. We started small. Ben stayed with me one morning while Rachel took Lily to school. Then Lily began stopping by after school to do homework at my kitchen table. Then Rachel started picking up heavy things for me at the store. Then I watched Ben again while she went to an interview. Nobody called it a care plan. Nobody wrote my name on a form. Nobody scheduled me for social hour. We just knocked on each other's doors. And slowly I understood what I had been missing. I did not only need someone to help me, I needed someone I could still help. That is what I mean when I say, do this instead. Not instead of all care. I am 91, not foolish. Some people need nursing homes. Some places are kind. And one day my own body may ask for more help than a neighbor can give. I know that. But if you are afraid to live alone, do not assume the answer is to give your whole life away before you have tried being known. I started with one door, one name, one small favor I could offer. That was enough to begin, because old age becomes dangerous when all help goes one way, when everyone comes to check on you, manage you, protect you, and no one still needs you. Being needed is not the same as being used. Being needed can remind you that you are still here. If you live alone, tell me what part frightens you most. Here at Wisdom in the Quiet Years, we say the quiet things before it is too late. I still have hard days. I still lock the door twice at night. I still know that someday, not yet, may become now. But today I made my own tea. I ate dinner when I pleased. Lily knocked to show me a drawing. Rachel brought over soup that needed more salt. And Ben pressed his sticky hand against my window just to make me laugh. I am 91 years old. I am not managed. I am not forgotten. I am still here. And for now, that is enough.